I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated because they are the ones to lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, okay. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day, and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
President Trump has long been talking about he believes the U.S. got the short end of the deal here. He believes that the U.S. was on a gravy train, in his words, during the Biden administration and has been ripped off, and saying that Europe and European countries have a loan and the U.S. has just been paying assistance to Ukraine. Extraordinary there to see the French President, Emmanuel Macron, in a friendly way, but it said, to be frank, that is not true. And walked through how actually European countries have much more skin in the game here, if you will. They've paid considerably more money. So that was actually a very, very interesting exchange.
I just want to tell you a little story. So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure.
If it guarantees peace for Ukraine, if you really need me to resign, I am ready. I can exchange it for NATO.
And your relationship
The President?
My relationship with President Trump? It never was in such best way.
Can you improve it? Can you mend it, you think?
No, I think we have, our countries, first of all, our countries have strategic relationship and we are partners. And I think it's not in our rights, like presidents, to lose partnership between our countries.
Just days after calling President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator, Donald Trump says that the White House and Kiev are pretty close, he said, to sealing a deal related to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. The agreement would give the U.S. access to Ukrainian reserves of the elements used in many types of consumer technology, from cell phones to hybrid vehicle batteries. The ownership deal would reportedly be a way for Ukraine to compensate the U.S. for the support it has given the capital city of Ukraine since its war with Russia began 3 years ago.
Today, the teams of Ukraine and the United States are working on a draft agreement between our governments. This agreement has the potential to strengthen our relations, and most importantly, the details must be arranged in a way that ensures it works. I hope for a result, a fair result.
Rare earths have been part of this week's discussion. It is unclear if Ukraine will agree to sign away any of their rare earth minerals in exchange for U.S. support. Earlier this month, President Trump was confident that a deal would go through.
I told them that I want the equivalent, like $500 billion worth of rare earth, and they've essentially agreed to do that.
$500 billion, well, that's a lot of money that Trump expects. Let's take a look at what exactly the president is talking about. What makes it so valuable, but why he might be overestimating it just a little bit. When you hear the term rare earth minerals, it refers to 17 minerals that have magnetic and conductive properties, particularly useful for making electronics. They're also vital for some of the major weapon systems the U.S. relies on. As President Trump wants $500 billion worth of these minerals, that's a pretty big number that might not be realistic. At best, the value of all of the world's rare earth production is around $15 billion a year. That's according to Bloomberg. To reach Mr. Trump's target number, well, it is going to take a lot of years of mining to do that. And according to the U.S. Geological Survey, Ukraine is not even one of the world's top 4 reserves for rare earth minerals.
In Donald Trump's first term as president, there was already personal friction with Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump pressured Zelensky to investigate Hunter Biden during a 2019 phone call about U.S. aid for Ukraine.
It was a perfect phone call.
Zelensky was drawn into a fracas.
The entire beginning of Zelensky's presidency was overshadowed by Donald Trump's effort to, in effect, blackmail Zelensky and Ukraine into getting U.S. military support in exchange for political favors for Donald Trump. That's what led to Trump's first impeachment.
Zelensky tried to stay out of it.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be involved. Nobody pushed me. Yes.
In other words, no pressure.
The nays are...
Democrats alleged a quid pro quo, and Trump was impeached but acquitted.
I think that left a bit of a bad taste in Mr. Trump's mouth, because he has a long memory. He's like that.
Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Trump has falsely blamed Zelensky for the conflict Putin ignited.
He should never have let that war start. That war's a loser.
Compared to Vladimir Putin, Zelensky just doesn't measure up in Trump's mind. Zelensky is not the kind of leader that Trump admires. Zelensky is closer to the leaders of Europe in style and substance, and Trump has nothing but scorn for those leaders. He sees them as weak, as effeminate.
Zelensky has not always been able to hide his frustration. A year ago, telling CNN this.
I can't understand how Donald Trump can be on the side of Putin.
And in September, Zelensky told The New Yorker, quote, Trump doesn't really know how to stop the war. Trump took note of the insult.
He's making little nasty aspersions toward your favorite president.
Now, the two leaders may have hit a roadblock, with Trump's national security advisor saying the relationship between the two is, quote, going in the wrong direction.
There is probably no amount of groveling or flattering that Zelensky can do to win back Trump.
Even if Mr. Zelensky had more fuzzy warm time with Mr. Trump, at the end of the day, it's Vladimir Putin who Mr. Trump admires the most.
Vice President J.D. Vance has jumped into the melee, warning Volodymyr Zelensky in a pair of print interviews not to criticize President Trump in public. Vance calling it disgraceful and saying anyone who knows the president will tell you that's an atrocious way to deal with this administration. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.